This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More about them later. It's time for another one of Flygon HG's patented color-themed hardcore Nuzlockes, this time in Pokémon Black 2. In a color Nuzlocke, I can only use Pokémon of one specific color. And what better color for a Black 2 playthrough than purple? Oh wait. Purple Pokemon are fairly elusive, but the good news is that in Pokémon Black 2, I can immediately find one on the very first route of the game. The bad news is that it's a Purloin. Terrible Pokemon, real bottom of the barrel type stuff. And what sick made the decision to put Purloin on two legs in later generations? Bipedal Purloin looks like a witch cursed a small Danish boy into becoming a cat, but the spell didn't fully work or something. Anyways, I'm no stranger to using a lone Purloin to defeat the first gym leader Cheren. I wish I could say it's quick and easy, but it isn't. It's extremely painful. Purloin doesn't learn a stab move before the level cap. Cheren's two Pokemon both know 50 base power same type attack boost tackles, and as I previously remarked, Purloin just kinda sucks. The best bet I have is to pump Purloin full of attack EVs by exclusively playing Whack-A-Mole against level 2 Patrat. Unfortunately, even with max attack EVs, the battle against Cheren is extremely luck dependent and can be greatly impacted by a given Purloin's nature and IVs. Sadly, Thanos Jr. here has a mild nature, which makes her a great guest at casual dinner parties, but also nerfs her defense, meaning that Cheren's Pokemon will hit just a bit harder. Now, I'd love to tell you that through perseverance, hard work, luck, and friendship, Thanos Jr. and I are able to will our way to victory, but I can't tell you that, because TJ doesn't even beat Cheren's first gym trainer. Admittedly, this is partially my fault. I could have gotten TJ to a higher level and given her an Oranberry, but you know what? Mistakes happen, and at least nobody got hurt. On attempt 2, new Thanos Jr. has a naughty nature, making her a worse dinner guest, but a much better answer to the threats in the Aspertia City gym. Without the minus defense and with a boost to her attack, Thanos Jr. crushes youngster Pedro without even falling below half health. So now it's time for the main event, Cheren vs Thanos Jr. She'll need guts and a whole lot of luck to best his two Pokemon, both of whom have workup to make the risk of critical hits even more threatening. Cheren's first Pokemon, Patrat, opts for pure offense, firing off tackles in response to our scratches. With the level and speed advantage, TJ comes out on top, having taken just 17 HP as the Gopher falls. We level up to level 14 here, which is fine since the level cap ends at the start of the battle. And in this instance, it's highly necessary to get a slight edge against Cheren's adorable but vicious Lillipup. I start with a Sand Attack to lower his accuracy. What, you thought someone named after the Mad Titan was gonna play fair? No, we went to the Dale Gribble School of Tactical Survival, and Lillipup missing a few hits is the only way we're gonna win this. Since he got off a workup, I decide to use Growls, hoping that we can get him back down to neutral attack for free if he misses a tackle. Cheren first goes for a second workup, but after a second Growl, my prayers are answered, and Lillipup does indeed miss a tackle. So it's time to hit our blind assailant with a Scratch for pretty pitiful damage. Lillipup goes for another workup though, so with one more Scratch, we bring him into the yellow, and then he misses a second tackle. Haha, suck it, Lillipup, because with that, TJ can fire off a third Scratch that leaves our foe with a sliver. And since this time his tackle does connect, we're in a lot of trouble. Yes, we can get some HP back with an Oranberry, but it's not enough to survive another hit, and since Cheren still has a potion, things are looking grim. I go for another Sand Attack, assuming that Lillipup can't get KO'd by two Scratches, which is tight, but I think was the right call. On the next turn, I go for a Growl, so that if Lillipup hits through Sand Attack, we shouldn't immediately die. Unfortunately, he does hit through Sand Attack, and since he crits, we do immediately die. Now, you may be thinking that I should have just gone on the offense instead of gambling with Sand Attack, and maybe you're right. Sure, Scratch was probably not a two-shot from that range, but Fury Swipes, with the right number of hits, absolutely could have been. Of course, Fury Swipes comes with the devastating drawback of being 80% accurate, so missing our moves is inevitable. R.I.P. Thanos Jr. the Third. Or would he be Thanos Jr. Well, it doesn't really matter because he's dead. Thanos Jr. the Fourth, or Thanos Jr. if you'd prefer, has a neutral hardy nature, which, as you might expect, is neither good nor bad. Don't love that he's highly curious, given the deep and violent one-sided history between cats and curiosity, but maybe TJ4 can rise above it. I got a good feeling about this feline. Against Patrat, he's able to take the kill with 23 HP left in the tank. As Lillipup takes the stage, I immediately go for my dirty sand attack strat. Lillipup once again uses Work Up, but instead of trying to growl him down, I instead go for pure damage with Fury Swipes, and immediately miss. I thought you were him, TJ4. I thought you were— oh nice, Lillipup missed too. We still have a chance. Our second Fury Swipe connects, and though just 3 hits doesn't exactly make up for missing the first one, it does do almost 50%. Lillipup goes for a second workup, so on the following turn, I switch to Growl to ensure that a single tackle doesn't get the KO. A somewhat reckless play maybe, but one that's rewarded as Lillipup misses again. That gives us a lot more wiggle room, so I decide to go for another Fury Swipes, and unlike last time, TJ4 clutches up. With 1 hit for each attempt, my little kleptomaniac has done the impossible. He's taken out Lillipup and won us the very first gym badge of the run. I'm so sorry for doubting you, TJ4. You are very much him. Am I using that right? With 1 gym badge obtained, the best kitten in the West and I can make our way to Verbank City. And at the Verbank Complex, we catch teammate number 2, Grimace the Coughing. Beating Roxie is technically doable with just Purloin. I've done it in the past, but much like Cheren, it's extremely luck dependent since Purloin doesn't evolve into Liepard until level 20. Fortunately, Grimace more or less trivializes the fight by teaching him Return via TM. With that and a copious amount of fraternal bonding, Grimace grossly outdamages Roxie's own purple pouch of poison and her ace Whirlipede. Side note, according to the in-game classification, this fella is not a purple Pokemon and therefore not an eligible encounter for us. I really don't know why she looks just about as purple as you could possibly be, but Pokemon has so many nonsensical color classifications that you could dedicate an entire website to them. And if you wanted help building that website, you could use the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Or, you gonna say anything about that, or? No, I think you know that wasn't your best work, so I'm just gonna let you sit with that and reflect. Squarespace is an online platform that helps you build and manage your own website, whether that's an online store for your business or a personal blog for your thoughts. Using their guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint, you can choose from curated layouts and styling options to build a distinguished and professional online presence from the ground up. It makes the perfect website tailored to whatever your brand or business may be, and optimizes the site for every device. Plus, with integrated SEO tools, your passion project is sure to show up more often to more people. I use Squarespace to create the award-winning website poppyhg.com, the one-stop destination to find curated pictures of my corgi puppy Poppy. And with Squarespace's video collection feature, there's also a whole video library for your viewing pleasure. With additional features like analytic information about the traffic of your website and Squarespace stores to help monetize your passion, you're sure to get the most from your Squarespace subscription. So if you're looking to start a website for your business or hobby or corgi, then you should check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your website, you can use my custom link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and to you for using my links. It really does help me out a lot. Now, let's get back to the challenge. After TJ4 evolves into the ever so slightly better Liepard, we're off to mainland Univa's port city of Castelia, and immediately I dive headfirst into the city's cavernous sewer system, for it's home to several potential purple Pokemon. However, I decided that in this playthrough I'd maintain the 1 encounter per route rule from standard Nuzlocke, meaning that the only teammate I get here is Raven the Zubat. Wait, likes to run? That doesn't make any sense. With a few level ups, Raven evolves into Golbat. Then I make my way to Castelia Park in the hopes of catching an Eevee, who's obviously not a purple Pokemon, but Espeon is, and with a monstrous special attack stat, Espeon's sure to be a massive player for the rest of Ah, damn, I forgot I could get Rattata here. Well, that's a bummer. I mean, normally Rattata, especially with Guts, is a pretty solid encounter, but since Raticate is not purple, Tico is a bit of an NFE dud. Wait, no, you know what? Nuzlocking is all about finding the strength within every Pokemon, no matter how small or feeble they may seem. So damn it, I swear to you, Tico, we'll find a use for you yet. It's not against Berg though, because Raven has that fight locked down. A single wing attack one-shots the lettuce-wrapped Corn Pop, and then Dwebble, who does threaten with Smackdown, is easily handled by Grimace holding a leftovers. I let my moderately bulky boy stay in against Leavanny for a turn and hit him with a Sludge, but then with a pivot through TJ4 to ensure that we don't get nailed by a critical hit cut, Raven is safe to come in and get the final KO with another wing attack. An all-around great team effort for an easy third gym badge. That means we can venture north to Route 4, where a fight against Colress awaits. Steel types are kind of an issue for our team. Really, the only way to hit them for anything other than resisted damage is by teaching TJ4 Rock Smash, though in this case, I neglected to do that. Thankfully, Colress's 2 Pokemon are still little basic babies, so they're not that threatening. Well, Magnemity isn't, especially because they just try to paralyze TJ4 who has a Limber, but Clink still hits shockingly hard with Gear Grind. Fortunately, Colress wastes a ton of turns going for charge, so Grimace, once again holding leftovers, can go toe-to-toe with them for quite a while. A Super Potion definitely catches me off guard, but even so, Raven somewhat safely gets the KO just a few turns later. The message is clear though, Steel types are a problem. Especially if they, don't waste 80% of their turns clicking charge. Nevertheless, with that, it's a clean shot to Nimbasa City, and to the east on Route 16, I can catch another teammate, the questionably purple Pokemon Gothita. I guess his face is purple and the rest of his body is like clothing, maybe? Waluigi doesn't help out with my steel problem at all. In fact, given that Waluigi is basically a purple-tinted toddler that I've enlisted into fighting wild animals, he's not much help against anything until he evolves. And that's not great because the next gym leader is Elesa, who without a ground type, or at the very least a single Pokemon that can learn Dig, her electric types are a massive problem. I mean, technically Tico can learn Dig, but let me remind you that he is a Rattata, and one with a minus speed nature at that. So this fight, even with the numbers advantage, is pretty terrifying. Raven does manage to evolve into the ultra speedy Crobat, but after that, the battle against Elesa begins. She leads with her Emolga, and I lead with TJ4. The hope is that with a Silk Scarf, the combination of Fake Out and Return will be enough to get the quick kill, and judging by how much Fake Out did, yeah, that little flying rat is DEAD dead. Flaffy is out second, so I fire off another return and bring the sheep into the yellow before he goes for Volt Switch, doing exactly 50% and getting Zebstrika in for free. That puts me in a tough spot. We absolutely do not survive another Volt Switch here, and even if we did, TJ4 isn't faster than Elisa's monochromatic ace. So unless I want the worst option in the Schrödinger binary, I gotta switch. But whoever comes in is likely going to eat a nasty Volt Switch and then have to deal with Flaffy. I decide that my best option is our newest recruit, Baby Waluigi, who's holding an Eviolite and surprisingly has enough special defense to take less than 50% from Zebstrika's Volt Switch. As Flaffy comes back out, Elesa heals her with a Hyper Potion, and our Psyshock does depressingly little damage. The bipedal sheep then outspeeds our telekinetic toddler. Pokemon is a weird game. This lets her fire off another Volt Switch that brings Waluigi down to just 3 HP thanks to a critical hit. Zebstrika comes out and eats another Psyshock, but now Elesa again has me caught between a rock and a hard place. If I stay in, Waluigi is obviously a goner, but if I switch, Zebstrika may use Pursuit and kill me anyways. Regardless, switching at least gives me a chance, so I call Waluigi back to his Pokeball, and he retreats to safety. This brings in Tico, who has been pre-poisoned to trigger his Guts ability, and with a bit of luck, he comes in on a quick attack, meaning that he survives the turn. And it's here where Tico achieves his purpose. For with a priority Guts boosted Sucker Punch, he can hit Zebstrika for fairly meaningful damage. Of course, it's not enough to get the KO, so Tico's first attack is also his last. But we will never forget his valiant sacrifice. For that damage, even after the Citrus Berry recovery, gives us the chance we need to win this fight. With Flaffy back out for the third time, I bring TJ4 back out for his second. Like his ancestor, he musters up a nasty critical hit fake out, which comes just shy of the KO. But that's good, because we didn't want the KO here. What we actually want is the switch out to Raven as Flaffy goes for Volt Switch, thereby bringing in Zebstrika, who we would then be able to snipe off with a return. Critical hits aside, it seems like a foolproof plan until Elesa opts for Thunder Wave instead of Volt Switch, thereby removing our speed advantage. This is potentially still fine since Flaffy now has a fast Volt Switch that fortunately doesn't get the critical hit. However, if Raven gets fully paralyzed as Zebstrika comes in, we are completely cooked. But Raven breaks through, and with a return, he finally takes out Zebstrika, meaning that victory is just one hit away. Flaffy takes the field for the fourth and final time, so I decide to double down with a second gamble. Again, Volt Switch comes out, and thanks to his Oranberry, Raven lives with 7 HP, just enough to break through paralysis once again and get the final KO of a truly grueling fight. The fourth gym badge is ours, though as we must remember, it did not come without a price. In order to make Tico's sacrifice worth it, we have to see this run through to the very end. And we've absolutely got our work cut out for us, because in Driftvale City, our next major opponent is the 5th gym leader Clay and his Excadrill. Remember how hard it was to take out Colress's Clink? Well, imagine that instead of a charge-spamming Dingus with 55 attack, we now have to go up against a deceptively bulky Brute with one of the highest non-legendary attack stats in the entire game. Our useless toddler manages to evolve into a slightly less useless preteen. Other than that, though, there's nothing else to do but barrel head first into what could very well be a complete and utter slaughter. Against Clay's lead Krokorok, I bring in TJ4. Thanks to the Intimidate, our combination of Fake Out and Return aren't enough to KO the otherwise frail Croc, but with a held air balloon, we can ensure that the only damage we take is a single crunch before getting the KO on the following turn. Sandslash comes in second and grants me a safe switch to Raven, who with an itemless acrobatics can do over 50% to the bulky Pangolin. Unfortunately, he retaliates with a nasty critical hit Crush Claw that also gets a defense drop, so even though we get the KO on the next turn, Raven is in bad shape as the run ender storms the battlefield. If it didn't before, thanks to the defense drop, a Rock Slide will absolutely get the KO. My plan is to go to Grimace and play dirty with Smokescreen, but if I can, switching in on a Bulldoze would be far better than taking damage from Rock Slide. So I first go to TJ4. This proves to be horrendously stupid since a critical hit would have easily killed my starter. And though he does have a chance to bait Bulldoze, he can also bait Metal Claw, which if it gets the attack boost on the switch, would be truly devastating. Thankfully, I'm moderately unpunished, though as we see, Metal Claw still does a sizable chunk of damage to my noxious whoopee cushion. With leftovers, we should be able to survive a few more hits, barring any nasty RNG, so it's time for Grimace to start firing off some smoke screens. This objectively is not a good strategy, but it kinda feels like the only way for me to win this fight without heavy losses, and since I only have 4 Pokemon, I gotta go for it. Sadly, Clay's Excadrill proves to have better eyesight than Cheren's Lillipup, and much better luck, because with a critical hit, he ruthlessly kills Grimace after just a single smokescreen. Short of, I don't know, getting off 0 smokescreens, I guess, this is the worst case scenario. I bring in Raven, desperately hoping that a single smokescreen is enough for us to make this work. Raven steals Excadrill's Citrus Berry with Thief, but then our foe claps back with a critical hit Slash. We survive, and our bat eats his recently acquired Citrus Berry, but even so, I have to bank on a miss if I want to survive a Rock Slide here. Acrobatics, now that we're again itemless, does pretty solid damage, but then Excadrill connects with a 67.5% accurate Rock Slide, claiming his second kill. With 2 Pokemon left, I have no choice but to bring in Waluigi. With Eviolite, we moderately tank a slash from Excadrill, but our Psyshock doesn't do enough damage for a 2-shot. And if we leave Excadrill with a Sliver, Clay will heal and all will be lost. So my only out is to first hit him with a Fake Tears and then hope that a Psybeam will do enough damage for the KO. And that requires surviving 2 more hits, the first of which is a Metal Claw that, even though it connects, at least doesn't grant an attack boost. So with that, Waluigi gets off his Fake Tears. And then it all comes down to this turn. Can Waluigi survive and get the kill with Psybeam? With 19 HP to spare, Waluigi does it. He gets the KO and wins us yet another grueling gym battle. Though again, it did not come without a price, and this one may very well be too steep to pay. Grimace and Raven are brutal losses. Granted, the former did literally nothing in his fight since Excadrill didn't miss a single one of his attacks, but with the new level cap, Grimace would have evolved into the far bulkier Weezing, and boy does our team desperately need some bulk. 2 battles was all it took to hack my team down to just 2 members. TJ4 and Waluigi are all that's left, and without any new encounters before the next gym leader in Mistralton City, I fear that attempt 4 is not long for this world. I considered restarting now, saving myself the time it would take to get to Mistralton City only to be crushed by Skyla, and not to mention saving myself from the pain of losing my 2 surviving teammates. But then, I remembered all that we've already been through. The struggles of beating Cheren? How many more attempts would it take to get another win against him? And even when we do, what guarantee do I have that the fights against Elesa and Clay would go any better? Perhaps this is the best it gets. And if there's even a sliver of a chance that we can keep this run alive, it's worth taking. For TJ4 and Waluigi, of course, but also for the memories of Tico, Grimace, and Raven. We owe it to those we've lost to keep fighting, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how hopeless it all seems. And with that motivation, we make it through Chargestone Cave to Mistralton City. There's nothing to do here besides face off against Skyla, and for the first time since Cheren, we're at a numerical disadvantage. Fortunately, her Ace Swoobat is an easy kill for TJ4. A classic fake out return combo means that we don't take any damage before Swanna comes out second. We again have the speed advantage, but even with the mid-battle level up, return just doesn't do enough damage for a 2-shot once Swanna's Citrus Berry brings her back into the green. And though TJ4 survives 1 Air Slash, he is certainly not surviving another. Our only hope is a critical hit. With it, Thanos Jr. survives, but without it, he's dead and I'm left with just Waluigi. Come on, buddy, you got this. It's in your blood. What? TJ4 lives! He freaking lives! And not just that, but because Skyla now uses a Hyper Potion before we take the kill with 2 more returns, we have a much better matchup against her final Pokemon Skarmory. TJ4 has done his job, so I switch to Waluigi as our iron-plated foe wastes a turn going for agility. After that, we just gotta tank a few hits. I reason that going for Fake Tears first is better than just firing off Psychics, though admittedly it does make the risk of critical hits far greater. Nevertheless, at -2 special defense, Skarmory now takes a whopping 50% from a single Psychic. And since we've still got plenty of HP left, there's nothing that Skyla can do. One last Steel Wing brings Waluigi into the yellow before he fires off his second and final Psychic, knocking out Skyla's final Pokemon and winning us the 6th gym badge completely deathless. Man, sometimes I wish I was recording myself when doing these challenges because the scream I scrum when TJ4 dodged that Air Slash was unlike any other. This at long last gets us out of the mid-game encounterless purgatory because after a quick trip on Skyla's plane, we arrive in Lentimas town, and from there, the northeastern section of Unova and its gloriously rich encounter tables are ours to explore. The first chance for a potential encounter is right outside of Reversal Mountain, but in order to increase my odds of getting Skorupi here, I decide to first trek through Reversal Mountain for the chance at getting Drifblim on Route 14. This does mean I have to do the scary multi-battle with Bianca against the two rando trainers that have a Darmanitan and an Exadrill, but now that Waluigi has evolved into his final form, he gets us through the battle in one piece. Shout out to Bianca's Musharna for landing a blind hypnosis though. Very clutch. Anyways, on Route 14, I do indeed encounter a Drifblim and name him Barney. Not sure that nickname makes a whole lot of sense, but alas. With Barney on the squad, I return to Reversal Mountain, and there I find... Well, good thing we got the Drifblim dupe, huh? One battle later, and a cute little Skorupi rears his purple head. This guy is so much better than Grumpig. Drapion is one of the best Pokemon in the game. Phenomenal bulk, amazing single weakness typing, fantastic speed, and solid attack. Plus, with his ability Battle Armor, Spyro can't get crit. Okay, well, technically every Pokemon has battle armor until proven otherwise, so yeah. After Spyro evolves into Drapion and Waluigi mind melts our rival's team in Undula Town, our next stop is Route 13, where I find a Staryu named Ursula Jr. Upon evolution, they evolve into the purple-tinted Starmie, and though Starmie is incredible in Gen 3 and Gen 4, Psychic types actually really struggle in the late game of Gen 5. There's just so many Pokemon that have Dark, Ghost, or Bug-type coverage that there's very few chances to switch in and fire off attacks. Nevertheless, a speedy special sweeper is great to have on the squad, but not as great as our next teammate who comes from a shaking grass patch on Route 11. I'm of course talking about the S-tier encounter that is Gliscor. Take everything I said about Drapion, other than the single weakness typing, and amplify it for Gliscor, a truly phenomenal Pokemon whose only downside is that she has massive 4 move slot syndrome. But seriously, this is one of the most reliable Pokemon in any game, and Black 2 is no different. Great to have you on board, Yzma. With a full team of 6 for the first time all playthrough, we confidently arrive in Opelucid City. But our recruitment cycle isn't over yet, because on Route 9, I catch Ennui the Jolly Muck. And look, he's even holding a black sludge. There's one more encounter here, and I saved her for last because, well, it's pretty questionable. Like, I can buy Waluigi technically being a purple Pokemon if we're to assume that he's wearing a dress or whatever, but I've really got no defense for Mantine being classified as a purple Pokemon. Like, I guess the argument is that her underbelly is an extremely light shade of purple, but if that's the case, how is Whirlipede not purple? And why wouldn't Mantine just be blue? Mantike is blue. This is madness. Chaos. But nothing matters and we're all gonna die, so either way, Bilpo joins the team. Yes, I know Bilpo is male in the show, but it's fine. With that, we've got 8 fully evolved Pokemon ranging from mediocre to exceptional from which to build our team to fight against the 7th gym leader Drayden. Fortunately, Yzma hard checks virtually any pure physical attacker that doesn't have a way to hit her for super effective damage, and all 3 of Drayden's dragons fit that bill. Draudigon goes down to 2 acrobatics, Flygon goes down to a single Ice Fang, may Arceus have mercy on his soul, and Haxorus goes down to 2 more acrobatics. Well, dang. Yeah, so I guess if Dragon Tail crit there, Yzma would have died, which definitely would have been embarrassing, but since she didn't, Waluigi gets forced out, Drayden heals with a Hyper Potion, and then we nail his Dragon Dance boosted ace with a Psychic. Since that gets the special defense drop, I decide to stay in, eat an admittedly stronger than I expected Assurance, and then take the kill with another Psychic. That was a lot messier than I thought it would be. 7 gym badges down means that we're about to drown in battles against Team Plasma grunts and lords and ninjas and stuff, but first is the fight against the final gym leader Marlin, and this one is all TJ4. Against Caracosta, I break his sturdy with Fake Out and then use a quad effective seed bomb to land the KO. Against Wailord, I fire off another seed bomb, which doesn't get the one shot, but since Wailord just uses amnesia, 2 more seed bombs after Marlin wastes a hyper potion brings our enemy down to his final Pokemon, Jellicent. Now, Night Slash probably isn't enough for the one-shot, and since we have a fully healthy team in the back, it's probably better to switch out here and not risk TJ4 to a critical hit Scald, but come on, wouldn't it be cool to sweep the 8th gym leader with a single Liepard? And besides, TJ4 will just crit with Night Slash anyways. Critical hits are in his blood. Oh wow, he actually crit. Alright, well that's the 8th gym badge, so let's go kick some Team Plasma butt. Though before the major fights against the likes of Colress and Ghetsis, I can get the final 2 encounters of the playthrough. The first, from Route 22, is a Mienfoo named Daphne, and don't worry, she's not a purple Pokemon. She's probably like, I don't know, green or whatever, but her evolution, Mienshao, is indeed purple, if you squint. And Mienshao also happens to be another one of the best Pokemon in the game. Crazy strong, crazy fast, and access to U-turn, which is a phenomenal move. A powerful fighting type cannot come a moment too soon, since Colress's steel types are our next big threat. I also catch a Ditto named the Grok from the Giant Chasm, and believe it or not, they'll have a legendary part to play in our story before it's all said and done. First though, Colress. He's come a long way since our first battle on Route 4, but so have we. Hardened by loss, the likes of which Poindexter could never understand, we've become a well-oiled machine, perfectly tuned to enact swift justice against those that threaten Unova's peace. Against Colress's Eviolite Magneton, I lead with Daphne. She uses Fake Out to break our foe's sturdy and then hits a nasty low kick, though that comes up just shy of the KO. The result is that Magneton gets off a Thunder Wave, though we came prepared for that with a held Cherry Berry. After a full restore, 2 more low kicks get the KO and bring in Magneton's big sibling. With our berry used up, I can't afford to get T-Waved, so instead I just use U-turn to break sturdy and switch to Yzma, who comes in for free. She then gets a clean KO with Bulldoze, which brings Kling Klang in third. Thanks to an air balloon, we need to first hit them with a Fire Fang, which exposes us to a Giga Impact, and that could actually do decent damage, especially after Kling Klang goes for a Shift Gear, but since they just opt for another one, Yzma takes the kill at full HP. That gives us plenty of health to also kill Metang with 2 Bulldozes, and then after that, it's just Beheeyem, who we U-turn for massive damage and a free switch to Spyro. Then a needless critical hit from Night Slash wins us the battle. So next is the fight against the leader of Team Plasma, Ghetsis. Well, actually, next is one-shotting Kyurem with a low kick, but after that is the fight against the leader of Team Plasma, Ghetsis. He starts with Kofagrigus, and in order to snipe off Kyurem, I needed to lead with Daphne, so she kicks things off by U-turning out into Spyro, who's immune to Toxic. Leftovers and Protect makes the next few turns a little annoying, but since we're holding Ennui's Black Sludge and Kofagrigus only has Shadow Ball to deal damage, Spyro stays at nearly full HP as we eventually get the KO. This brings in Seismitoad with Earthquake, so I switch to Bilpo. Since Bilpo is sassy-natured, Seismitoad outspeeds and hits an adorably weak Sludge Wave, but then Bilpo shows that she didn't leave the box to twiddle her metaphorical thumbs. No, she came to do a very brutal murder. An Icy Wind crits Seismitoad and drops his speed, meaning that on the following turn, we move first and fire off an Air Slash that flinches. So thanks to our held leftovers, Bilpo finishes her ruthless assassination with a second Air Slash and gets back to full HP as Electros comes in third. This guy is a bit tricky since we don't have a safe way to deal big damage, but Bilpo at least grants a safe switch to Yzma on a Thunderbolt. She can then use U-turn for a solid chunk of damage and a switch to Spyro, who gets crit by a massive Acrobatics. Well dang, I guess you really aren't battle armor. Unfortunately, this means that I gotta switch back to Yzma, who at least comes in on another Thunderbolt, but my moveset and the fact that I'm holding an item means that I really can't do much damage to this thing other than by using U-turn. so someone's gotta come in on another acrobatics. I decide that TJ4 is the best bet, though as he takes the field, Electros merely opts for a flamethrower. Much weaker, and without the burn, TJ4 is free to take the KO with a fake out Night Slash combo. That brings in Drapion, so it's back to Yzma. I was a bit worried that we'd be at risk to some sniper crits here, but Yzma takes the hit so well that I really don't think that even triple boosted crits would have saved Drapion from going down to 2 bulldozes. But next is Hydreigon, and without a resistance to Dragon Rush, somebody's gotta take a hit for the team. I'll give you one guess as to who that's gonna be. After U-turning with Yzma, the Groat comes in on a massive Dragon Rush. We've trained them specifically for this moment though, so they survive the hit with 67 HP, their Rocky Helmet doing wonderful chip damage as a result. But even with Life Orb recoil, it's not enough to save their life, not by a long shot. So, with a salute, I send the Groat to their death. Holy crap. You're freaking kidding me. The Groat is a god. They can actually do this. Like, they can actually beat Hydreigon. I mean, it'll require winning a speed tie, but if they do, we can just kill Hydreigon with a Dragon Rush of our own. Okay, listen up, the Groat. This is quite literally the single most important turn of your life. If you win a speed tie here, not only will you miraculously survive getting sacrificed, but you will also enter the annals of Nuzlocking history as possibly the clutchest ditto of all time. It's a 50-50 chance. Win the speed tie and take your shot, buddy. You got this. Alright, well Daphne comes in and after Ghetsis heals with a full restore, a single Drain Punch is enough for the KO. Toxicroak is Ghetsis' final Pokemon, so after using U-turn to bring in Yzma on a Poison Jab, she gets the KO with a Bulldoze and the battle is won. But how frustrating was that? Like, yes, I did bring the Groat with the explicit intention of sacrificing them, but come on! That would have been so cool! I guess maybe a better play was to use Frustration or Rock Slide. I just didn't know if it would be enough damage to get the KO. So RIP the Groat, your time on the team was short, but you left an unforgettable legacy of almost not dying. With Team Plasma defeated, it's a quick trip to the Pokemon League where the final fights of the challenge await. After some strategizing, here's my final team. I can't not bring TJ4. He's been with us since the beginning, and after all we've been through, it wouldn't be right to do this without him. Unfortunately, the other original member of the squad, Waluigi, will be sitting on the bench. Psychic types just don't match up well into 4 out of the 5 remaining fights, and if we want to win, I gotta bring the best mons for the job, TJ4 notwithstanding. I'm sure Waluigi understands and will be vehemently cheering us on from the sidelines, along with Ennui and Ursula Jr. So with that, let's see if we've got what it takes to become champions of the Pokemon League. First up is Marshall, a rare starting choice for the Unova Elite Four, but Yzma is just too good. Flexing like a goddamn acrobat, she can largely slice through Marshall's fighting types like 4 perfectly cooked fish fillets. And thanks to her secondary ground typing, she's not nearly as threatened by their rock coverage as her other fellow flyers. Just a few turns later, and we've defeated Marshall without breaking a sweat. Again, I cannot stress how rare it is to say that. Normally this guy is so freaking hard. Second is Grimsley, but he remains extremely simple. Daphne's Inner Focus ability lets her ignore the flinch from Fake Out and kill Liepard with a single Drain Punch. Thanks to Aerial Ace, Bisharp gets baited in second and also obviously dies to a Drain Punch. Crocodile is third and has Intimidate, so I decide to U-turn out, though that does so much damage that I'm sure we could have just one-shot with Loki. Regardless, Yzma can come in on a Rock Tomb. The speed drop means that we do have to eat a crunch, but then a U-turn gets the KO, and grants a free switch back into Daphne, who gets the final kill with a single Expert Belt boosted Drain Punch. The back half of the Elite Four starts with Caitlyn. She leads with Musharna and I lead with Spyro, who makes things significantly easier by critting with Night Slash for the clean KO. This was always going to be fine since Musharna has an extremely abusable moveset, but this kinda just wraps things up immediately. Barney comes in on a Focus Blast from Reuniclus and then fires off a Shadow Ball. It's not quite enough for the KO, but since Reuniclus' Psychic can't even one-shot with a crit, we're safe to take the kill on the following turn. Next is Sigilif, so I go to Bilpo. She's so specially bulky that Sigilif does virtually nothing even with Psychic as we hit a super effective Icy Wind. Then I switch back to Spyro on another Psychic, who's now free to get the kill with another critical hit Night Slash. Gotta love the scope lens, baby. All that remains is Gothitelle. This one's for you, Waluigi. With one last Night Slash. Dang, all crits would have been so cool. But it doesn't matter since Caitlyn just uses Calm Mind, so on the next turn, another critless Night Slash wins us the battle. The final member of the Elite Four is Chantel, and as usual, her Chandelure is real scary. First, though, is Kofagrigus, who just falls to do Night Slashes from Spyro. This time, I switched his Scope Lens for a Rossberry in order to avoid a burn from Will-O-Wisp, so this matchup was unlosable. Golurt comes in next and threatens with Earthquake, so it's off to Bilpo. Then, with a Mystic Water boosted Surf, she gets the clean KO. Drifblim comes in third, eager to fire off a Thunderbolt, so I bring in Yzma. Expecting a Shadow Ball, I then U-turn out into TJ4, but what awaits my kitten instead is a nasty Acrobatics. If that damage doesn't speak to Lipard's frailty, I don't know what will. I gotta switch out again, this time to Spyro, who still takes a sizable chunk of damage from Acrobatics. Without the crit, Spyro is safe to get the KO with another Night Slash without fear of falling to the damage from Aftermath. So that just leaves Chandelure. I switch to Bilpo, who resists the Fire Blast, but even so, that's a solid chunk of damage, especially given how bulky Bilpo is. Chandelure is also faster here, so we have to take a pretty nasty Shadow Ball before we fire off a Surf. That gets the one-hit KO and wins us the battle. Just like that, the Elite Four's been defeated, and we've made it to the final fight of the challenge, the showdown against Champion Iris. There's just 6 Pokemon left to beat, and the first is Hydreigon, so our lead is Daphne, who gets a clean kill with Low Kick to start things off on a high note. Druddigon comes in second, so I U-turn for Chip and switch to Barry on a Focus Blast. Then it's back to Daphne on a Rock Slide, who repeats the switch cycle with another U-turn. This should highlight 2 things for you. 1, U-turn is busted. Free damage while switching is incredible for setting up future kills and maintaining momentum throughout the battle. And 2, Drifblim is sneakily one of the best Pokemon in the game thanks to his triple immunity. The amount of pivoting you can do with this one Pokemon alone is insane. Anyways, a ruler shows that the damage from 2 70 base power U-turns should be enough for a stab 75 base power Drain Punch to get the KO, and thankfully it does. This is nice because the next Pokemon that comes in is Aggron, who immediately falls to another Drain Punch that conveniently also gets Daphne back to full HP. I freaking love this Pokemon. Archeops is 4th, and I'm pretty sure he'll outspeed us, so thanks to Acrobatics, I've got no choice but to switch to Yzma. She kinda tanks the hit, and then on the next turn, we surprisingly outspeed Archeops and get off a U-turn. Fun fact, we're actually speed tied here, though I didn't know that in the moment. I was hoping that we'd get a free slow switch into Spyro, but because we win the speed tie, we do gotta eat a pretty brutal Rock Slide. Fortunately, as my fastest team member, Spyro is able to move first and connect with an Ice Fang that causes a freeze. I mean, I really didn't need that since Archeops would have been in defeatist range, but I'll take it. Iris heals with a full restore on the following turn, though unfortunately for her, Spyro claps back with yet another critical hit Night Slash. With that though, it's time for Haxorus. She's got a Focus Sash, which makes potential Dragon Dances pretty damn scary. Fortunately, Spyro should be baiting a kill with Earthquake, so I bring in Barney. And thankfully, Iris cooperates instead of going rogue and setting up. On the next turn, I nail Haxorus with an Icy Wind to prevent her from getting a speed advantage with Dragon Dance, but she instead opts for Dual Chop, which does do huge damage, though without a critical hit, not enough for the KO. And thanks to our held Rocky Helmet, it also brings Iris's ace well into the yellow. So with one Shadow Ball, the biggest threat to our team is cooked. Or so I thought. Iris has one Pokemon left, Lapra, and with just 60 HP, Barney is baiting a random move between Surf, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. The randomness means that I can't safely switch to Yzma or Bilpo. Spyro has already taken too much damage to come in, and Daphne, though she can get the kill with a low kick, is susceptible to freeze from Ice Beam or paralysis from Thunderbolt. I could risk it, but what happens if Daphne fails? Am I willing to take that risk? No. Is Daphne? No. But you know who is? TJ4. Barney goes out and TJ4 comes in. Lapra fires off a nasty Surf, but without the crit, my bravest fighter lives with 43 HP. Our fake out then does a respectable amount of chip, but is it enough for Seed Bomb to get the KO? If it isn't, my oldest friend is dead. Frankly, it probably isn't, though there is still a chance for a critical hit. If TJ4 can take this kill, he'll save the rest of the team. So 100 out of 100 times, our team leader takes that chance. And so far, he's never missed. Against Cheren, Elesa, Clay, Marlin, and even when it seemed hopeless against Skyla, he pulled through. This little kitten has dodged seemingly certain death more times than I can count. So as he nails Lapra with a Seed Bomb, my heart is filled with optimistic hope. But sadly, TJ4 comes up short, and with an Ice Beam, our fearless feline falls. Daphne comes in, and with one last low kick, she takes out Lapra, winning us not just the battle against Iris, but the entire run. Like so many times before, this victory feels bittersweet. Yes, we defeated the challenge. Yes, TJ4 would want us to be happy in our triumph. But it stings knowing that I was so close to getting him to the Hall of Fame alive. I've never been able to get a Liepard into the Hall of Fame, and this time it just wasn't meant to be. But I'm sure the Thanos line will return, and one day, generations removed from TJ4, a Liepard will do what their ancestors couldn't and bring honor to all the Thani that came before. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it'd be great if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know, but I do know that if you're new to the channel, you should check out my Black 2 Dark Type Only challenge to learn about the OG Thanos. Do those videos still hold up? I have no idea. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.